So one of the things I got out of the program was that leadership really matters. It's important to be intentional. It's important to focus on leadership every day. And if you do it every day, it really does make a difference.
One of the important sessions for me was actually the very first session of the MOR program, and that was the first impressions and the presence session. I think a lot of us think we know how people think about us, but we really don't understand that. So that really forced me to take a look at myself and how I may be coming across to people right from the beginning of a meeting or beginning of a relationship, and step back and try to put myself in their shoes and figure out how I'm coming across to them. So the first impressions was a really, really important piece for me.
I think what's interesting, what was really fascinating to me about the MOR training when it came to presence and presentation is that it reinforced something that I had known for a long time.
I have learned that it matters more than I thought it did. My grandparents taught me to always dress the part and have a firm handshake, those sorts of things. But even more than that, just the clothes you wear, the way you hold yourself, your speaking voice, that initial assessment that people do, their first reaction, it's very important. And I found that I have some areas to work on. I found that I have some strengths that I didn't know I had.
The first most obvious one is to get out of the comfort zone. Now, I had Brian as my coach, so you can probably imagine it was not a stretch for him to get me out of my comfort zone.
Immediate versus important. When looking at that, I tried to make sure or it helped me realize that I need to relate everything together, that anything can be important depending on the situation, to actually put those in a context where they relate to one another. It's easier to find out if something really is immediate and important, or if it's just important, but it doesn't need to be done in the next month. Maybe that can be done next year or 6 months from now. At the same time, it also gives me a chance to find the things that seemed important, but when I relate them to everything else that's going on, they really aren't important or immediate, to let those drop off, and maybe they'll change in the future, but it's a good stress reliever to let those things go.
Immediate versus important has helped me with my time management. That wasn't a strong suit of mine. So graphing it out on the quadrants and making my weekly plan of exactly what I intended to do that day, that has really helped me. One thing that I have found out is I'm addicted to email. But what has been kind of a funny result is that when I stick with the quadrant mapping and my weekly plan, is my inbox actually empties out quicker.
So I've used some of the MOR things we've learned in MOR as far as defensive calendaring, of trying to write down weekly and daily what I want to accomplish, and that's really important to me, because then I can really take a step back every day. Did I get done what I wanted to get done? Did I get done for the week what I wanted to get done? And then focus on some of the more important projects that I have to work on.
The monkey article, that one was important for me. It pointed out that by trying to be helpful, I may actually be making things worse in many cases. And that comes from, I feel like I should work hard, I should set an example, but by involving myself in too many things or making myself a decision maker, I'm actually slowing down the process. I'm hurting the folks around me that are trying to get things done. When they throw me a question and say, what do you think, or what's the next step, that I should actually just give that right back to them and say, you decide, go with it, let me know in the future where you're at if you do get stuck, but I think you can handle this one.
The monkey. People come in and they have a problem and they want to put that monkey on your back. I've tried to do a much better job at giving that monkey back to them, or giving them resources to say something like, well, I don't know, did you check here? Did you look at this website? Did you do something? Try to help them, but also try to make the problem or have them own their problem. And I think that that's a very important thing that we've learned, is because sometimes we need to get rid of that monkey so we can get other things done.
Well, the building relationships is something that I had never considered before. I've always just kind of gone through the chain of command, tried to work the system, but that doesn't always work. And as anyone in the university knows, that takes a long time. But building the relationships, just not only the fact that you meet interesting people, but building the relationships so that you can call on them and say, hey, I need some help. I need some direction. I've called a couple people where I just didn't know who to call, and I knew that they were close to what I needed and asked if they could point me in the right direction, and they have.
So one of the biggest things I learned in the MOR leadership program was the value of building relationships. I came into a couple opportunities earlier in my career where I did IT at another company, but I also played softball with a group of people for probably about the past 10 years. A couple of people that I played softball with both knew that I worked IT, and so when opportunity arose, they both contacted me to apply for jobs at the university. First one didn't pan out, but the second one, he knew that, you know, I was a great person to play softball with and that I did IT, so he said he had a position and that I should apply for it, and I did, and got the job at the university. So being able to build that personal relationship on top of a work relationship really opened doors for me. That being said, currently going through the MOR program, a coworker and I have been going to other departments throughout the university to basically learn what they do, just to say hi, just to network. That has also opened doors because they are now coming to me for services that I provide. So being able, again, to build that personal relationship and the work relationship has opened doors even here and now.
Things that I took away from the MOR course that really made a huge impression on me was coaching and learning the coaching cycle and being a part of a triad. I thought it was incredible to actually be able to practice the coaching cycle and to think about how you kind of draw someone out by asking them a question, ask some probing questions, kind of, you know, get to the point where you summarize. So that you can end a conversation and sort of have some goals in mind after you leave the coaching session. I had never practiced a coaching session like that before, and I thought it was very helpful to learn how to do that, and I've also actually done that in my job since then. So I think it's been really successful to learn how to do that.
The part about the MOR program that made the biggest difference for me was when we discussed emotional intelligence. We talked about being aware of yourself and how you react to others in certain situations. So before the MOR program, I tended to react too quickly and spontaneously and on impulse. So it really made me think, okay, I need to stop, assess the situation, think about the conversation, and react appropriately and in a manner that's going to benefit me in the long run and also be better for the people around me. So since I learned that, it's made a huge impact in my daily conversations, and I think about it all the time, and I use it over and over and over again.
Looking at any project or any issue or initiative, we talked about the three lenses: political, cultural, or strategic. And what really popped out to me was looking back at some of my earlier work. There's usually one that's very clear, one of the lenses that it fits perfectly, sometimes two, but rarely all three. And balancing effort on how you work on those three different angles is really key to keeping things moving. Keep the lenses that are very clear, keep those healthy, keep that relationship or that work moving, while slowly nurturing the one that needs a little bit more help, and there's almost always one. So appropriately put work where it needs to be done.
I think the most important lesson I learned was that being intentional doesn't have to equate to being fake. I think Harry Davis hit this on the head when he talked about the performative aspects of our characters. As people, we're not just an either or. We're somewhere along the continuum, or we can be an either and an or. We can be both optimistic and pessimistic, or we can be both at the same time. I think the important thing I got is that we need to read the context and know when to bring which character center stage. I think that particular presentation made a lot of things gel for me. It encouraged me to behave in ways I customarily wouldn't and not feel like I was being unauthentic. It made me realize I'm being paid to be a stage director, not just of the people I supervise, but of myself too. I'm being paid to act in the most appropriate manner. There's nothing fake about that. In fact, that seems like the ultimate honesty.
My takeaway from the MOR classes, the people that I've got to work with here in the classes. We put in a lot of time together. It's been a struggle. Some of us have been surprised. I certainly have, and some of the surprise has been the people themselves. We have people who are wine experts. We have people who are scouts. We have people who studied abroad, who actually worked abroad, and I've been privileged to work with all of them as a consequence of the MOR classes. That turns into a message of hope. It gives me the opportunity and makes me feel good about things happening here at Iowa in the future. It also means that when I get into a situation, I'm going to be comfortable walking up to these people and asking. So my takeaway is basically thank you from everybody in the MOR class.
I mentioned in my leadership journey that I came here to coach field hockey, and shortly after I came, we went on our first road trip, and we went to Northern Illinois University in DeKalb and had a great match, and I was coming home feeling really excited about the future, and we crossed the Mississippi, and as we crossed it there was a great big sign in the middle of the road and it said, "Iowa, a place to grow." I've been thinking about that off and on for the past 20 years because since I've been here it really has seemed like a wonderful place to grow, and the MOR experience I think has really helped me grow. And I mean this in the nicest possible way. I kind of have viewed it as fertilizer, not that it's horse manure or anything, but that it's really an experience that has sort of, with the small group meetings, the big group meetings, the triads, the readings, the coaching, it's really sort of been like rainfall on the prairie. And I think it's really helped me to think very seriously about some things and to be much more fertile to new ideas and experiences.